Welcome to The Dip, the podcast where we discuss our all-time favorite theme park experiences and ask, which attractions would we want to keep us company if we were stranded on a deserted island? Each episode, we invite a new guest onto the show to share the story of their favorite attractions and how it has shaped their relationship with theme parks. We'll delve into theme parks' emotional and personal significance for our guests. Join us as we journey through the deeply personal connections our guests have formed with the hobby and the impact it's had on their lives.
I'm delighted to welcome today's guest to the Dip podcast, Pokemon Master, YouTube vlogger and Stitch mega fan, my good friend Jamie from the Jaime and Bobby channel.
Hello, hi.
Continuing the pattern I've formed with my guests, I'll say the usual. We have known each other for a few years and visited many parks together, but I'm interested to see how your answers differ from everyone else. For any new listeners, a little explanation. We have 4 sections we'll use to get to know you. Hyper, that's where we start building the island and find out a little bit more about your preferences. Giga, this is where we travel back a little to dive into your history. And Strata, here we do the deepest dive into your relationships with theme parks. And of course we have to end with a nighttime spectacular finale. So, are you ready for the first section?
Yeah, let's do it.
Section 1, Hyper.
Cool. We'll start building your island and we'll start things easy. What roller coaster would you like on your island?
This is a tricky question, you see, because there's lots of roller coasters, I think, that mean a lot to me. And it could be really easy to go, you know what, I'm going to stick my number one coaster at the top and go, that's what I'm going to have, which for me would be Velocicoaster, which is my favourite. But I think thinking about it, I think I'd want something that's kind of has a bit more variety, kind of I can keep going back to. So I was kind of like thinking torn between maybe like Voltron, something like that. You know, it's got a really long layout, loads of different elements to it, you know, a nice pre-section. It's been very different. But I think the problem with that as well is that makes me feel quite ill. If I do Voltron, it's quite an intense one at points. So I don't think that would go very well on my island.
And if you get the dodgy cars as well, you're in big trouble.
Could you imagine, like, you know, I'm just trying to go on, you know, the only coaster on my island and I've got Voltron, but I've ended up with a dodgy train. It's not the one, is it? So I think one that stands out for me that I could keep coming back to would probably be like Hagrid's. I think Hagrid's is such a fun coaster. The theme is great. Like, I love Harry Potter. And also you get 2 experiences in one. You know, you get the sidecar, you get the motorbike. So it's a bit of everything. And it's like kind of a dark ride too with the...
Yeah, you've got a great coaster even if it was on its own. Yeah. But you've got the added bit of animatronics, theming, all sorts going on it. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just one of those coasters that I'll never, ever, ever get bored of. You know, those launches are so snappy, so they're always fun. And like I said, you get those 2 different experiences anyway. You know, when you're sat on that motorbike, it's like you're exposed to all the elements, which just feels amazing. And then, you know, you're sat down in the sidecar, which feels a much more like kind of secure, you know, different experience really entirely. So Hagrid's for me is, I think, got to be the one that I would have there, I think.
I think on overall, everyone who's been building their islands is heavily Islands of Adventure centric.
Yes, yeah. Well, they just got so many good rides, haven't they? I think every coaster at Islands is so well themed. It's got great elements to it. So, I mean, probably apart from Flight of the Hippogriff, I probably wouldn't include that one in that. But everything else, yeah, is so amazing. So I can understand why Islands get such a shout out in this section.
And did you get to ride Dragon Challenge or Dueling Dragons back in the day?
I didn't, but I really wish I could have done, because those coasters look so immense. And I love a B&M invert as well. So for me, I think that would have been the perfect kind of coaster for me. I'm really glad to see that they've got like Stardust coming at Epic for the dueling aspect, because I've never really done anything like that before. So it would be really, really nice to see that. But I would have loved to have done Dragon Challenge, because it looked really impressive when I saw the videos of when it was dueling. Obviously, I don't think it did towards the end of its life, did it?
No, I never got to duel it, but I'm sure many people have.
Yeah.
But it did look very special when it chilled.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to have done that. I think everyone's saying that Hagrid's was a worthy replacement. So
yeah, I think overall, I bet if you ask normal people, they're going to pick Hagrid's over dragons. I think as an experience.
Yeah, I can see why people would think that. I mean, obviously you've got the very big thrill aspect of the B&M inverts. You know, they looked very, very thrilling. Obviously I can't speak on behalf of how they actually ride, but they looked really good. But yeah, Hagrid's is more of that overall package, and you know, I love it at islands, and I love it on my island. So.
Cool. Then that works. We'll get that one added to the island. Cool. So now we need to learn a little bit more about you. Can you please select a card?
Okay.
What is your happy place?
Oh, okay. My happy place. I have lots of happy places. Most of them are at theme parks, to be honest. But I think the happy place really that stands out for me, I think will have to be actually home comforts, really. I love just sitting in my office with Bobby playing Overwatch. That for me is my happy place.
That's cool.
I'm the most happy and content probably when I'm doing that, even though the game is stressful. But I'll sit there and we'll just be chilling, playing our games together, and that for me makes me really happy. So that's probably going to be my happy place, I'd say.
Okay, that's good because it's somewhere you can be a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're playing Overwatch, you're always healing us all. So
yeah,
that's
I'm
always
the support in the team. I'm the supporter always, but I really enjoy it, and obviously just sitting there and chilling, it's nice to do all the time, and it's a nice unwinding thing to do. So I'm always happiest there, weekends, evenings, whatever really. I'll be up to doing that probably.
And I guess surrounded by all your random theme park items and posters. Our
office is filled with so many different types of theme park merch and Disney nods and all that cool stuff. You know, we've got a big display cabinet in there full of my theme park merchandise, which I love. It's my nice little corner. And we've got, you know, some Disney stuff. We've got some Harry Potter stuff in there. What else we got? Bobby's display stuff. It's just absolutely ransacked full of stuff. Yeah. It's like our little nerdy room. So it's the best place to sit in and chill. So I love it there.
Cool. Sounds perfect. So back to the island. And you can't be just riding rides every day. So you need a film to watch while stranded. What films had a big impact on your life, and what's the significance of it? Okay,
so I think for me, there's a lot of movies in my childhood that have had a big impact on me growing up, and memories I have watching them. And it's predominantly the Disney Pixar films. It's probably not a surprise to anybody. I've always been a Disney kid. And growing up, I've always loved those Pixar movies, you know, Monsters, Inc., Toy Story, Incredibles. They've always been the ones that kind of stand out to me as those ones that I always remember and think of when I've been growing up. Like, I always had them on as a kid. Like, if you ask my mum and dad, they'd put Toy Story on for me like every day, and I'd be watching it all the time. As much as I love those movies, I do think one that really sticks out for me is something that made me go, you know what? I think I love Disney more than a normal person. Probably was Princess and the Frog. Okay. Which isn't the most obvious of choices, I think, when it comes to Disney films. I mean, obviously it's got a ride or two rides, if you class the two different versions of it. You know, Princess and the Frog, Tiana's Bayou Adventure and things. But that film has such an amazing soundtrack. And I remember watching that kind of, when it first came out, I watched it and wasn't really that bothered. But when I first watched it kind of in my teens, I was like, wait a minute, this is a really nice film. It's really fun. It's really joyous. I love New Orleans. I think I'd love to go there. It's one of my dream destinations. So for me, Princess and the Frog is like one of those films I can just rewatch and rewatch and rewatch, and I'll never get bored of it. And like I said, that soundtrack is so amazing in that movie. Yeah. I just love it. Like, I can just bop around to all the songs. I was my absolute, like, it was one of the best things I ever did, going on Tiana's Bayou Adventure and listening to all them songs going around. It was so fun. And it's always going to be one of those films that I will just keep hopping back into and just being like, yeah, this is the one for me. So I think out of all of them, it's got to be that one really, because I think it's just made me realise that actually I love Disney more than normal people.
That's good. Yeah, I think you're right with the soundtrack. I don't know the film that well, but I know Friends from the Other Side is probably a top 10 of all time Disney song.
Oh, it's such a good song. And he's a great villain as well. Such a good villain. I wish he had a little bit of a cameo in the
you would have thought it would have made sense to stick him in, but I guess they're trying to be safe by not adding in, not scaring the kids.
Yeah, I get that. And I think it was set after the film as well, wasn't it? Because she's like opened up a restaurant and things, and it's Tiana's Foods and so on. But I do wish they had, like, in that lift hill, everyone was saying they wish they had that song going, "Are you ready?" As you're going up the lift hill. That would have been so good. But yeah.
And were you a fan of Splash before the change, or?
I never did.
Oh, okay.
Splash Mountain. I never done it. I'd heard a lot about it and obviously seen like POVs of it and things like that. I think I'd have loved it, don't get me wrong, but I didn't go to Disney in like Disney World until last year. That was the first time I'd ever been to Disney World. So for me, when I kind of saw that they would change it to Tiana's, I was one of those people that wasn't like, oh, that's a shame, because I'd never done Splash, so I wasn't really, I didn't have any connection to it. I get that a lot of people did have a connection to Splash and kind of grew up with that and things like that. But for me, like when they announced Tiana's, I was so happy with that, because I was like, finally, some Princess and the Frog recognition in Disney. Like, this is what we need in the parks. So I was really happy with that.
That's good. Cool. So we're going to move on to our next section now.
Section 2, Giga.
And we need to go back in time a little bit. Can you remember your first theme park memory?
My first theme park memory? Oh, God. I think if I'm thinking of my first important theme park memory, one that really sticks out, because I've been to Gulliver's and things growing up, but I don't really count that as an important theme park memory. But my first proper theme park memory was 2009. Okay. It was my 9th birthday. My mum and my dad.
See, I feel really old now saying that.
I'm a 2000 baby. But my mum and dad had bought tickets for us to go to Alton Towers. And I remember being so excited because I'd never been to Alton Towers before then. And obviously it was not even that far away from where I kind of grew up and things in the Midlands. It wasn't even that far away. But I was so excited because obviously they thought I was at the age that was old enough to enjoy the stuff there. So we made our way down to Alton Towers, or up to Alton Towers, should I say. And we had Pop Princess 2009 on in the car on the way there, much to my dad's disappointment. I think he wasn't really a fan of that. And we went in, and I just remember looking down Tower Street and just being absolutely amazed that I was there, that I was in Alton Towers. And I will always remember that. And something that sticks out for me that day as well was, because it was my birthday, and they always had like twirling toadstools around at that time and things like that. All those nice little fun rides in Cloud Cuckoo Land. I remember saying to one of the members of staff there, it was my birthday, and they gave me a fast track to go on twirling toadstools, and I was so happy, and it was just the best thing ever. But then what I do remember also about that trip was the horrors that was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah. That was a massive disappointment the first time I rode it, because it was much harder to get rumours and online stuff back in the day, but everyone was not knowing what that was going to be and what it was going to do, and then the massive disappointment of the end scene, and you're like, oh, okay.
It was a strange ride, I think, to say the least. I think that gave me nightmares as a kid, really, which, when you think it's my first proper theme park memory, it's probably not the best thing to have for that, really, with nightmares and stuff. But I just remember that. Don't you remember that big floating Violet Beauregard thing on the wall? That she was like giant, and she was like a big balloon thing, and that was so terrifying to me. I don't know if it was just me who was terrified by that, but it haunted me as a child. And there's pictures that my mum took of me on that ride, and I was like crying. It was not the best experience.
I think it's the illustration style of, I want to call him Quentin something, but I can't remember his name.
It was Quentin Blake, I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's just creepy, I think. Yeah. And even though we all grew up with it as kids and were forced to enjoy Roald Dahl all the time, it's just a weird look. Yeah.
It was really strange. And obviously I know they wanted to base it on the book, because that was just, I think, the right way to do it when in their heads. But also I'm thinking, would it have been the right way to just base it on like the movie, or do it that way? Because it was really terrifying, and it's terrifying even when they sold all the the bits from it a few years ago, and I was looking at it thinking, this is just giving me flashbacks.
Yeah, who wants that in the house?
No, why would you want this like tiny like little scary Oompa Loompa thing like sat, or like Augustus Gloop in the chocolate pipe? It was terrifying. I look at it and thinking, I wouldn't want to buy that.
I'm sure someone did, because
I think they all sold out, didn't they? Yeah.
All right, so we should probably go back to the island. And we now need a dark ride. What's the one that you would want to ride again and again?
This is really tricky because I'm a dark ride person. I'd say probably more so sometimes in roller coasters. I prefer dark rides. I've been lucky to go on quite a lot of really good, well-known, very amazing dark rides. So I feel very lucky for that. So it's very hard for me to pick one. I think I'd put one in an island and go, this is the one I'd love to keep going on. So I'm thinking there's some that really are fun. So like Popcorn Revenge at Wallaby, Belgium. That's a really fun dark ride. It's not the most like mesmerizing and like, wow, this is world class, but it is really fun.
Is that an interactive one? I've not been myself. So
it's interactive. So it's like a shooting dark ride. Okay. So you've got like all the screens on the inside and you're in like a little, I think it's like a little popcorn ride vehicle. It's been a while since I've been on it, but you have like the little guns and you shoot the popcorns, and they're like from the movies. So they're like popcorns that are dressed as like Hulk and things like that, and you have to shoot them and get points. So it's very interactive. But if you think of like, the best way I would describe it is if you think of a Minion Blast but put it in a ride vehicle that's trackless and moving around.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, that's how I would best describe it to people who haven't done it. So it's really, really fun and interactive. So I remember doing that and I just wanted to keep doing it because it's so fun. So that would be up there. But then I'm thinking it's not world class enough.
I'm thinking of some of the dark rides you've been on and you're picking a popcorn shooter.
Yes, I just don't think that would really fit it. So then I'm kind of thinking along the lines like Phantom Manor, beautiful dark rides. I prefer it to Haunted Mansion, which
I think that's the right answer.
Yeah, some people would disagree, but I think it's such a beautifully well done dark ride that I could just keep returning to and spot something new every time that I do it as well, which is really nice. But then again, you've got like Pirates, but I'm talking about the Paris version of Pirates. Yeah. You know, you can't beat that smell of Pirates. You know, those animatronics in Pirates are brilliant. They're so mesmerizing. It was the first time I'd actually seen an animatronic like that.
That's cool.
When I did the Paris one. So that was nice. And then obviously you've got Spider-Man.
Yep. We've got to mention Spider-Man every episode.
Yeah, obviously you've got to mention that. Just a world-class dark ride that I just don't think really, you can obviously top it, but it'll never have the same vibes. But I do think if there's one thing that springs to mind for me, it's got to be Tower of Terror, but I think the Paris one. If that counts.
I would go Paris, even though I guess you'd have to spoiler alert a 20-year-old ride, but the Orlando one has the move-in bit.
Yeah.
I still think the ride sequence and the newest version of the Paris one is so much better than any other tower.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think obviously Paris was the first one I'd done, and I've only done obviously there's more than two, but I've done Disney World and Disneyland Paris. And when I did Disneyland Paris one, I was so amazed, but specifically by, I think it's like the third elevator in Tower of Terror in Disneyland Paris. That to me is the best ride sequence and the best experience on a dark ride I think I've ever had in my life. It is incredible. Like that drop sequence in there. And I don't know if I want to say what happens in there because it's quite a rarity to get the third one. It's not always open. But if you can get it and it's open, I would ask to do it because it is so incredible. I think that, for me, when I'm thinking about that, it does just have the edge over Tower of Terror in Disney World. I do like the immersive bit in Disney World when you go into it and like you said, like you're moving forward, and I didn't even know it did that before I did it last year. I had no idea. So I was like, wow, this is incredible. But I just think for the creepy vibes of it, I think it's so much more spookier in Disneyland Paris.
Yep.
Which is, for me, that's what I prefer from it. So I do think that's what I would have But if I have to pick one tower, elevator 3.
Okay, elevator 3. That's fine. We'll do that. But yeah, I think you're completely right. I've been lucky to do all of the towers. And like Japan, it looks amazing, really well themed, but it's a bit tamer. I found from the others, and I love Marvel and I love the Guardians and my favorite characters, but I just didn't vibe with Mission Breakout at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I don't think it's a great ride, but I want an intense ride on Tower of Terror, and that's what you get in Paris.
Absolutely, yeah. And I have seen that with Mission Breakout and things. People, I've said that it looks really cool, especially if you like Guardians of the Galaxy and things. It's a great thing there to have, but I have heard it's very tame in comparison. So if you want those intense drops, it's always got to be Paris.
Yeah. In the best theme park in the world, Walt Disney Studios.
Yeah, just, the concrete jungle is Walt Disney Studios, which is not going to be called that for much longer, is it?
Oh, we've got to get used to, is it Adventure Worlds?
Yeah, I think it's that. I've seen that they've released a map now for it, haven't they?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that one.
They just need to speed up. It'll be fine once it's done.
Yeah, it's just a bit of an eyesore when you walk in at the moment. But I do wonder how long we've got with Tower of Terror there, because it does stick out a bit like a sore thumb now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is in the middle of everything. It's just sitting there.
You'll be able to see it from World of Frozen, which I think is going to...
But they have just announced they're redoing the queue.
I didn't even see that.
The outdoor queue is going to be inside apparently now.
Oh.
So I guess it's there for at least a bit longer.
Yeah, well, that's good for me because I didn't want to see that go. So.
Cool, we'll get that on the island then. Well, you can have all 3 elevators if you want a less intense ride.
Thank you. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Cool. We now need to dive a bit deeper. Can you select your next card?
Okie doke.
What was the happiest point in your life?
Oh. Okay. Happiest point in my life. I think...
That's a very tough question.
It is tough because there's so many happy points in my life, and I just think I feel very blessed to have done so many things that I've done and done so many nice experiences and had so many happy memories. But I think if I'm thinking of just one thing that comes to my mind, it sounds really silly, but when I had breakfast at Ohana's, it sounds really silly, right? But I've always wanted to meet Stitch at Disney Park, and I tried so many times when I'd been to Disneyland Paris, and I couldn't meet him. He kept going in because it was raining, or whatever it was. And I'm a huge Stitch fan. So, and I really wanted to meet him. So I remember the absolute buzz of booking the table at Ohana's and be like, oh my God, we booked breakfast at Ohana's. We're going to meet Stitch. And then he came out with the music going on. And I was there like with tears in my eyes. It was the best thing ever. And then when they came around the tables, and I think he was actually the last one that I met as well. I met the other 3 first.
Who are the other 3?
There's Lilo, Pluto, and Mickey.
Okay.
So, and they're wearing the nice little outfits for the Polynesian, which is just so cute. So they had the little layers on, and then they had like these little Hawaiian t-shirts, and it was just so cute. So Stitch came round last, and it was just obviously me and Bobby. So we were just sat there, and he came up, and I didn't even notice him there. And then he tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around, and I was like, oh my God, it's Stitch. And I got up and I gave him a big hug, and he spent so much time with me as well, which was really nice. So I had a really nice interaction. And I think in that moment, I was just so happy, because I've been waiting for that for so long. I've been counting down the days to that trip, counting down the days to that table booking. And then he was there. Now, this is just the best thing ever. And it might sound silly because there's so many other things that I've done. But like when you've been looking forward to something so much, and it's then it actually lives up to the expectations.
And I think it's not just that you're meeting Stitch, it's you're meeting Stitch as part of your first holiday in Disney World, your first time in a Disney park.
Absolutely, yeah.
It all just builds up. The weather's great, that always helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew as well that day was going to be my first day at Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
So again, that was like, I knew after that I'd be going to Magic Kingdom for the first time, which is something I've always wanted to do since I was a little girl. Like, I've always seen the Disney World adverts and I really want to go there one day. So I knew that was happening after that as well. So in that moment, it was just like peak levels of happiness. And that was it for me. I was like a sobbing mess. It's like, this is it. I'm done. I need to go home. Like, I've cried too much. But it was just so incredible. And yeah, it was so nice to finally meet him. And I've ticked that off now. And I've said hello to Stitch and given him a cuddle. So it was the best.
I guess we need to let you have a Stitch meet and greet on the island then, really.
Yeah, I mean, that needs to happen,
okay.
realistically. And he needs a nice little special outfit as well.
Okay. You can have a custom outfit.
Exclusive meet and greet.
Cool. Now, music's got a massive impact on everyone's lives, so your island needs a soundtrack. Mm-hmm. Is there an album that's had a big impact on you that you'd want to listen to again and again?
Yes.
And it's not the Stitch soundtrack.
It's not Lilo and Stitch soundtrack, no. I love music so much. I'm always listening to music all the time. I've got a record player. I'm always buying new vinyls and things and listening to them. I grew up with it. You know, my granddad loved music and had a massive extensive record collection. So I was introduced to a lot of really nice music and different music from different genres and everywhere, you know, from a very young age. And my dad has a big, vast music knowledge. So I grew up with a lot of different things musically. So for me, like, there's some standout ones like Night at the Opera by Queen, great album. One of my favorites. I love Queen, so, and that's my favorite Queen album. So that would be up there. But then you've got the likes of, you know, recently, I'd say like last year, year before, really started getting into The Weeknd.
I wonder why that is.
I wonder why that is. So someone introduced me to The Weeknd a couple of years ago. And Dawn FM is such a brilliant album. You know, really, really love that and can listen to it on repeat over and over again. And then, you know, there's things like, you know, there's other things like some of the Kendrick Lamar albums are really good as well. I like Damn, that was a great album. And I listened to that all the time. When it first came out, like, I had that on repeat over and over and over again. So a brilliant album. But if anyone knows me, they know I love Florence and the Machine. I'm a huge Florence and the Machine fan. And that really stems from probably my dad again as well, to be honest. I remember when Lungs first came out. I think that was like 2009, something like that.
I think so, yeah.
Lungs came out and my dad liked listening to all the new music and stuff as well. So I remember having that on in the car or when we were cleaning the house or whatever. And Lungs would always be on. And I remember thinking, this is really nice. Like, it's like nice, gentle music, but also develops and keeps growing. And then I kind of went off Florence for a bit. And then I think about, it's been like 6-7 years ago, I really started getting into Florence and the Machine again. And Lungs was the album I came back to. It was her first kind of debut album, wasn't it? It was the first big one that she really had. And that album is just perfection for me. There's nothing better than listening to that album. I could listen to it again and again and again. And I could literally not even switch between albums. I could just keep playing that one. And I will always kind of go to that one, I think, if I'm thinking that's going to be the one that's had the most impact on me and the one that I love the most. And obviously Florence and the Machine as well. She's got such, is her music quite like, what's the word? Is it like ethereal? Like, is that how?
Yeah, that works.
It's like magical, isn't it? And I think some of her music as well, it sounds really weird, but I would kind of go, her music would go quite well in some like theme park settings because it's quite atmospheric.
Yeah.
So when I'm listening to her, I'm like, this is a really atmospheric journey of music I'm going through right now. And yeah, so there's other ones that she's like, Dance Fever is a great album as well. That was her most recent one. But I think Lungs will be up there for me. That would be the one.
Oh, that's a good choice.
I would stick with.
Good choice. I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but I can understand the reasons why.
Yeah, well, she's on Reflections laughing. So.
Exactly. On my most played now, apparently.
It's in your most played. So she's got a little bit of a cameo in there in the background. You can't really hear her that well, but she's there if you know how to spot her. So, you know, she's well known everywhere now.
Yeah. And she can, I think that album works with Tara Terra.
Yeah,
that
why
could
not?
work.
Put that on there.
All right, we're going to go into our next section.
Section 3, Strata.
So, everyone's had a journey to being an enthusiast. At what moment, if any, did you first consider yourself a theme park enthusiast?
So, when I was growing up, I hated roller coasters. which is the same story, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've heard it a lot. People as kids going, I've never ridden a roller coaster that looks scary. I can't do it. I was one of those kids, you know, you wouldn't catch me on a big roller coaster. And like talking back to what we were talking about earlier with the kind of early theme park memories, when I was talking about Gulliver's and things, that was actually where I had my first actual roller coaster, was in Gulliver's. And that was a scary, horrific experience for me. And I was like, I'm never doing them again. But I remember this point where my mum and dad had planned a trip to Alton Towers in 2018. So I was 18 years old at this point. And even before then, I was like, I don't like roller coasters. But actually, I started getting really into the facts behind roller coasters, how they're made, and the statistics behind them, and how they're safe and things like that. And I remember watching all those videos that people had made on that, which actually made me think, oh, these are actually all right, these things. So I got really into it, and I started planning out this trip so much that my mum and dad had no control over what we were doing at Alton Towers. It was just like, we're going to this, and this is how we get there, and this is how we do this, and this is the drop on Oblivion. And I think at that point, that's when I was kind of like, maybe I'm actually quite interested in this now. And I loved roller coasters from that day because I did them all. And I was like, this is actually really fun. I like them. So after that, we booked a trip to Orlando. And that was my first trip to Orlando in 2019, where I did some of the really big coasters. Like Mako was the tallest coaster I'd ever done at that point. And I think around
that's quite a jump from no coasters to Alton Towers to Mako. Yeah,
it's a very big jump, but it was a worthwhile jump. And I think looking back and realising how much time I'd spent looking into these parks and going, we need to book trips here and we need to do that. Actually, I was into it more than...
But are you a trip planning enthusiast rather than a theme park enthusiast?
I think maybe before, like maybe 2018 trip planning enthusiast. But I think once I started doing the coasters and things and wanting to collect the merchandise, that's when I kind of knew I was really into it. And everything I was talking about was kind of revolving around roller coasters. And I was bringing it back to theme parks and, this is opening here and this looks great, we should go on this, and talking to my parents about it every second of the day, much to, I think, their annoyance because they weren't as into it as I was. But I think then I was just sort of like, this is a bit of me. I'm going to stick with this. And ever since then, I've been into them massively. And it's the one thing I always love now. You know, if someone asks me something about me, I'll always tell them I love theme parks. And that's the person I am. So I think from that point, that's when I would kind of say, I was a theme park enthusiast from then.
It's when you book a day off at work and they don't even question you anymore because they know it's going to be a theme park.
100%. I get that at work all the time now. They go, oh, you've got 2 weeks booked. I wonder where you're going.
Yeah.
It's not going to be down the road, is it? To the beach.
So we need one more ride for the island. Some people call it a ride zero. So what's the ride that means the most to you?
I think this is going to be a bit of an obvious choice because I think a lot of people go for this one and have gone for this one. You probably guess where I'm going with it. It's based at Alton Towers.
Is it going to be Nemesis?
It is going to be Nemesis. I think it's a classic option for most people. Actually, not most people. Some people have something very different, but a lot of people will go to Nemesis because it's such a classic in that park, isn't it? When you always thought about Alton Towers, most people will go, oh, that's the part with Nemesis, isn't it? So you'll tend to fall back on that. And it was the first coaster I did that had an inversion. I remember doing that, and I was sat next to my dad, and I was like, oh, this is a lot, but I was enjoying it. And nothing really comes close. And I'm talking about original Nemesis, by the way, not Nemesis Reborn. I love Nemesis Reborn, and it's the same ride, but I don't think it has the same atmosphere that Nemesis had.
No. I think I'm probably repeating myself here because I'm sure I've said this to someone else who picked Nemesis. I think UK enthusiasts don't realise how good they had it by having something like Nemesis in 1994. Like if you think, I don't know, some enthusiast in, pick a random country, Portugal. Yeah. Growing up with terrible theme parks, having to travel a long way to get anywhere. We had, I'd have been 6-7 years old when Nemesis came out. Yeah. And it was one of the best roller coasters in the world at the time. And we kind of just ignore that and go, oh, it's Alton Towers. Yeah. There's better rides elsewhere. It's like, you're only saying that because you had such easy access to this crazy ride.
100%. I agree with that completely. I was actually saying that when I went to Alton Towers most recently, that I think people have taken, they've gone, oh, this is just like you said, we've got it here. It's just slap bang in Alton Towers. We're used to it. But actually, it really stands up there still as one of the best coasters we have. I think it stands up as a world-class coaster still, which is, we're really lucky to have something like that. And like I said, obviously the Nemesis Reborn soundtrack now is brilliant. I like that they've got the original twists on it. But I think for me, nothing is better than when I was walking into Forbidden Valley and seeing that rusty looking track and listening to that audio, that soundtrack that's so iconic, and being in that station where they're saying, those iconic things like sit back, it's fright time and stuff like that. That is so iconic to me. It will always have a really special place in my heart for that. And like I said, I love Nemesis Reborn, but I don't have the same.
Yeah.
It's not my Coaster Zero. Nemesis is my Coaster Zero.
Yeah, if I was picking Nemesis, I'd do the same. Yeah. I have a massive hatred of the colour scheme of the track. I think might be in the minority there. Mm-hmm. I don't like the flame funfair airbrushed artwork. I prefer, same as you, the old rusty looking beigey red track. Yeah. But then again, it's because I grew up with it, so I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, but I think as well, like, it looked very 90s, which I actually liked about Nemesis. I liked that it looked a bit retro, and like, this is something different, that we have something classic here. And then when obviously they changed it, I did like what they did with the screen and, the Nemesis Eye and her like really taking over the roller coaster and things. But yeah, nothing really will hit the same as that older looking, just brilliant. Yeah,
I do like what they've done with Forbidden Valley. It looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
I still prefer the old Forbidden Valley. I don't like X Sector version 2 is what it kind of is now. I get it. It makes sense. And I'm glad they did it because it means we get Nemesis for longer.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe 30 years time we'll change it again and go back.
Maybe we will. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that's a coaster that's there to stay for a long, long time. And it will be now. It's had that retrack. But even longer, because it's a coaster that I think runs through generations now, isn't it? Which is a really nice thing to have. That, a lot of people do take that for granted, and they shouldn't, because it's just so brilliant.
Definitely. Cool. We'll get that one on the island as well then. So it's the last chance now to pick a card. So I warn you, they can get deep now. Okay. But if you pick another card.
Yep.
What is an experience you want to live over and over again? So you've already picked your Stitch meeting, so you can't
do
double
that
stitch.
Again. That's done. Oh dear. Okay. You've got to hear me out on this one, all right?
Okay.
This is going to be a hear me out.
I'm scared now.
Okay, so going into Walmart for the first time. It sounds so stupid, but obviously when you watch all the movies and things and people go into these big American supermarkets, and always wanting to go to America since I was a kid, you see it all the time. I was even fascinated by the accents and things in America. Like, this looks so cool there. And when I remember going into Walmart for the first time, and it sounds so stupid because it's just a shop, but like I realised at that moment I was actually in America, and I was actually there. Like, I'm in a massive supermarket that is full of this weird and wacky stuff that I've never seen before. There are aisles with all sorts of stuff on it. I can't even count the amount of aisles. I remember thinking, this place is like the size of an IKEA. Like, it is huge in here. And just walking down all these aisles and being amazed by everything I was seeing. Like, oh my God, we need to buy this. And we need to buy that. And like going to the checkout and realising everything you'd bought had added up to like $400. But everything in that moment, I was like, oh, that is just amazing. And if I could go and experience that again, that'd be great. Because that was such a good feeling. Because I do still get that buzz every time I go to like an American shop. And I think if Americans are listening to this right now, you might think that's really weird because it's just a shop. But I've always seen the stuff like growing up and people going there, and I always wanted to do it. And then knowing I was doing that and I was there, I was like, oh my God, I'm actually here in a Walmart. This is incredible. So that sounds stupid, but...
No, I think I would agree. Like, for anyone who hasn't done an American trip and been into a Walmart or similar, it will ruin your life because every shop you go in after that just feels boring in comparison. Like,
it does.
You walk into a Walmart and pick a random aisle. So they'll pick the biscuit aisle. You're not just getting, there's some bourbons, there's some digestives. You'll have every version of digestive you can ever think of mixed with something else. So there'll be like, I don't know, Milka digestives, Oreo digestives, weird flavors you've never heard of all merged together. Cereal in every style and flavor and shape and color you can think of. And then that's where you even get to the drinks aisles, which are just insane as well.
It's amazing in there. And I think just going like looking through those aisles, like the crisp aisles, I'm like, this aisle is massive. It is longer than any aisle we have in any UK supermarket.
Yep.
And it's all crisps. Like there's a third of this section dedicated to Doritos.
Yeah.
Like what? That is just insane. And like I said, all the drinks and things, like those aisles are just so massive. You could get lost in there. And actually I have got lost in Walmart several times. But you can get lost in those shops. And we have nothing like that here. Like the closest I can probably think of, and even then it's not anywhere near the same league, is like a Costco. And that's not even on the same. Yeah. That's not even on the same league. So if you've not been to one of those shops, you probably won't understand it. But when you go, it's very overwhelming and overstimulating, but in the best way.
Yeah. And multiple times I've had to buy extra suitcases purely because of Walmart.
It's so easily done. And you just keep chucking stuff in the trolley. And you're like, wait, how much is this actually adding up to? Because you just want to buy everything you see. So it's a great experience. And I think if I could just kind of live that first time I ever walked into there again, I absolutely would.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So, every island needs a finale.
The finale.
What nighttime show or spectacular would be the perfect end to your day?
Okay. I haven't actually seen that many nighttime finales. Really, I've seen obviously the Disney ones. I've seen the one at F-Telling. I don't know if fireworks counts at Towers, but
yeah, no, it can count.
I've seen that, if that counts. And obviously you've got some really standout ones like at Universal, like the Hogwarts light show that they have. I remember seeing that for the first time and was like, that's amazing. I love Harry Potter. Love all the little nods to that. And obviously I know they've got the new one now at Universal, haven't they? I haven't actually seen it yet, but it looks incredible.
Yeah. You're missing out the most important one, Nightmare Fuel.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I've not actually seen Nightmare Fuel.
That's bad.
That's bad, isn't it? That's really bad. I tried to. Well, we tried, didn't we, last year? Yeah. So on Jaime Bobby trips last year, we went and we kept trying to get in to Nightmare Fuel and we couldn't get in no matter what because it just kept getting really busy really early on. So we didn't have a chance to see it, unfortunately. I have seen them on YouTube, if that counts. But hopefully we'll get to see Nightmare Fuel and I can then put that into into the mix of things. I've heard very good things about it. But obviously you've got the likes of like Fantasmic and stuff as well.
Yeah.
I love that show. Really, emotional, that show for me. Sorcerer Mickey. I mean, I've got a hoodie on right now that's got Sorcerer Mickey on the back. I love Fantasmic. But I think it's going to be an obvious choice. It's got to be Happily Ever After, isn't it?
That would have been my guess.
Yeah, it's got to be that. I mean, I cried real tears when I saw Tinkerbell. That's all I'll say on that one. That was the tears that came out on that. I was just stood there in complete awe about what was happening. My first time seeing that castle show, really seeing the Disney World castle, seeing all these amazing projections on that. I had never seen anything like that before. I mean, I love the Disneyland Paris show, but the projection quality is just not the same. I don't know what it's like now with the new show, but when I can't remember what it was now. Was it Dreams?
It would have been Dreams or Illuminations.
I think it was Dreams I saw at Disneyland Paris. So the projection quality was like a massive league step up. And I was just absolutely amazed by that show. It's so beautiful. The music is perfect. It's got all the nods to everyone's favourite, Disney movies in that. The fireworks are amazing. The place you're in, like you're in Main Street and you're like, I'm just stood in Main Street watching this amazing castle show. And then Tinkerbell's there. I'm like, what else could you want from this?
Yeah.
I would watch that a million times over. So I think that's the obvious choice, really, isn't it?
I mean, it's a perfect choice. I've only seen it the once. I definitely may have had to look away from everyone during it to hide my face. It's one of them shows.
It is. Yeah. It's a tearjerker, isn't it? And I think it's okay to cry at that show.
Yeah.
Anyone who's watching it, I think if you don't cry, I don't know what you're built of.
Yeah.
Because it is so moving, and there's some scenes in that, and I'm not going to obviously talk about exactly what the scenes are in case anyone hasn't seen it, but there's some scenes in that show that are just really moving. I'm like, this is just beautiful, and it's so well done, and the music's perfect. So yeah, easy one for me.
Yeah, perfect choice. So let's recap the island a little bit. We've got Hagrid's. Great coaster.
Great coaster all round.
Coaster / dark ride. So we're doing well there. We are going to be we're going to be watching. My mind's gone blank on the film.
Princess and the Frog.
Princess and the Frog, of course. Princess and the Frog. We're going to have not popcorn dark ride.
No.
What do we go for in the end?
Tower of Terror,
Paris.
Paris.
Tower of Terror.
Specifically Tower 3.
Third tower, definitely. With Florence and the Machine playing.
Oh, yes.
And then Nemesis. Yeah. Original Nemesis. And Happily Ever After to end the day. Yeah. That sounds a good day.
It's a great day, isn't it? I'd be quite happy with that day. Yeah. Imagine all that merged into one. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We'd be selling a lot of merch for all of that.
Oh, yeah. I'd be making bank if I was selling all the merch for that.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Where can listeners find you online?
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been really, really fun chatting with you today. So you can find me and my partner Bobby on socials. So we're on Instagram and on YouTube, just Jaime and Bobby on both. So we're at Jaime and Bobby on Instagram and Jaime and Bobby on YouTube. So feel free to check us out. That'd be great.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was Desert Island Parks. Thank you for listening, and a massive thank you to our guest. Please remember to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us on all social media at The Dip Podcast.